If you've never done this before, you're probably wondering where you should set your traps and how you should hang your snares.
One of the things we've done to slow down or try to keep the coyotes out is, you notice that the 6-inch stay fence, 47-inch, we got it all the way around where we're running sheep. We put the wire on the gates due to the fact that where the livestock runs or where you run your tractors, you're going through the gate, so you're making a highway right to the gate. And a coyote can go through the spacing on the gate real easy. So we put wire on that gate to keep them down. We found that the electric fence is very effective. We put this up last fall. We seen a coyote come up, he hit the fence, and he turned around and made a about face, and as far as I know, he hasn't been back. They can jump it or they can dig under it, but normally they just run the fence and go somewhere else. When you're building your fence for coyote control, you like the fence as close to the ground as possible. But in Kentucky, you haven't got a level ground. So what we do when we come to a place that is off the ground, like you see here, we take a piece of extra wire. It can either be some more fence. In this case, we had some other wire. We put it on the ground so the coyote cannot go under it. Anything to keep him from finding a hole to go under. If you can keep them out, you got the battle won.
What we've got here is a place where coyotes can come into the field. When you've got a place like this, you want to set it up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set one right under the fence in this opening, what we call crawl unders. Take a piece of number 9 wire and put a hook on the end of it. And you got a rebar stake with a notch cut in the hole of it and the end of it. And you can put your drive that, or to keep your hands clean when you're doing all of that. So what you do is I get me a good clean pair of gloves and keep them with my snares, and I use them only for that. We're going to hang this snare about like this. We're going to make the loop just a little bigger than what the opening is, but I don't want it down on the ground to freeze down on the ground or stick to the ground in any way. Here I can drive this down, I can bend it and fix it and hold it, and it'll support it where it needs to be. Then when he goes through with his nose and head though, even with this size loop, it may look a little bit small, but that will go right over his ears and head, and he'll close it with his shoulders and his chest right here when he pushes through. That's what he's actually going to do. So that's about the way I like to set this particular place like this. We've got to anchor the snare. You can do it 2 ways. I can take a rebar stake and go through the swivel of the snare if I want to do it that way. The other way that I can do it is tie it to that bottom wire. And why am I going to tie it to the bottom wire? Because it's a little bit heavier than the others are. I like to tell the farmers about where I have got the snares set, or any other traps for that matter. And so that when in his rounds of checking his livestock, if he does have a dog with him, and he misses his dog, well then he'll know about where they might be, where the dog might be, or where the snares are.
90% of trapping predators and coyotes is in the location of the sets. They have to be properly located. This is a really good feature here that we chose to show you today. We have a machinery road coming down through here, which is paralleled by an electric fence. We have the corner of the fence here. It makes a right angle turn, and there's another machinery road or travel way going down that way. This machinery road travels on, and out in front of me here, this goes down into a thicket. So we've got a four-way intersection. This is especially attractive because of this electric fence. Coyotes that could cross this way or that within 50 yards of here, they're not going to do that. They're going to skirt this fence, and they're going to end up here. I've got sets on both sides of the corner to catch a coyote coming or going. Also, because of the wind direction, you'd like to locate your sets upwind of the prevailing wind, upwind of the coyote's line of travel, so that when he travels across the prevailing wind, he'll catch the odor of your set, come to it, and get caught. What we're going to show right now is one of the two most basic sets that we use for trapping fox and coyote in Kentucky. This is a very basic set and an effective set called the dirt hole set. This is basically a hole dug in the ground and the trap bedded out in front and a tractor back in the hole. It sort of imitates where a fox or a coyote or another animal might have buried a piece of meat. They don't often really do that, but this is really attractive to them nevertheless. I'm just going to go ahead and stake it right in here like this. No coyote will get that out of the ground. If you'll notice here while I was working, I'd like to cover a couple things about cleanliness. Right now, for lack of anything else, I'm kneeling on a clean plastic garbage bag. This keeps I'm not wearing rubber hip boots or anything to protect my knees. So it keeps my knees dry. It keeps me from spreading too much of my human odor into the ground. I'm wearing rubber-covered soles on my boots. Normally during the trapping season, I'd be wearing a set of hip boots, and they come all the way up to my thighs, so I can kneel with those, do anything I want, and everything's rubber that's touching the ground. You don't need to be a maniac about odor and scent control, but you have to be reasonable. What I like to do on these dirt holes, when a coyote comes up to this dirt hole and smells and sees the attractor down in the hole, his first inclination is going to be to want to scratch and dig that out. So if you have your trap, or if you have soft dirt close to this hole, you run a chance of that coyote hooking into that soft dirt and pulling the trap out, setting it off or discovering the trap. So I like to leave several inches of good hard slick dirt between the lip of the dirt hole and the edge of the trap bed. I like to set the trap about 9 inches back from center of the hole. This is just, again, a piece of wax paper. I tear a little slit in it here to let the dog of the trap pass up through when it fires. This is just a piece of wax paper to keep anything from getting under this area and firing the trap. Next thing to do is to bed the trap as solidly as possible. Again, this trap pan is right out in front of the hole, offset just about an inch or two, and about 9 inches from the lip of the hole to the edge of the pan. That's a good position to take most of the coyotes as they approach the hole. Making sure the trap is bedded heavily. We'll add just a bit more peat moss here. Kind of finish to level. Then just a very light covering of dirt. My loose clods of dirt I could put to the left and the right, just to kind of create a nice attractive soft spot for this coyote to step. Saw something here I didn't like. Something about like that. When he works this set, if you've got a good lure bait, he's going to be here long enough, he's going to put a foot right there.